1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and okay. Deck looks good. Time to make a video. Oh, stop that. Oh, don't. Oh, it talks. Oh. If I'd known I wouldn't touch it. Oh, I need to get home. Okay, I am not doing this entire segment like this. Tatsugiri EX is a very strange card. Tatsugiri EX is a card that released in the Surging Sparks expansion for the Pokemon trading card game, and it has one of the most unique setup attacks I've ever seen. Cinnabar lore says, look at the top 10 cards of your deck and put any number of Pokemon that you find there onto your bench. Notice how they did not use the word basic. This introduces a very interesting deck concept where you don't actually run any basics except for Tatsugiri. This means that you can pull up some pretty crazy combos with stage 2s that usually require a bunch of maintenance and set them up instantaneously. This video is about my take on Tatsugiri EX and a tournament that I took it to. Since Tatsugiri EX is a Terra Pokemon and we want to use the attack Cinnabar lore as efficiently and as quick as possible, we are playing Tatsugiri EX as our only basic, 4 copies of Crispin, and the Sparkling Crystal as our A spec. So that's how we're setting up Tatsugiri, but what are we actually doing with Cinnabar lore? One of the most popular Pokemon to use with Tatsugiri EX is Hydreigon. Hydreigon has 2 extremely powerful attacks, one that does 200 and mills the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck, and one that does 130 to 3 of your opponent's Pokemon, setting you up for multi-prize turns and board wipes. To make sure that we hit it off of Cinnabar lore, we are playing 4 copies of Hydreigon and 3 copies of Zweilous. Dino is notably absent because we just want to start Tatsugiri every time, so no dinos. For energy acceleration, most of these decks run something like Blaziken to get energy from the discard into play so you can use Obsidian. But with the Phantasmal Flame set, we got a brand new card, Grimsley's Move. Grimsley has a similar effect to Tatsugiri in that you can put any dark type that you find in the top 7 cards of your deck directly onto your bench. This means that if I whiff Hydreigon or a different dark type off of Cinnabar lore, I can have a second chance with Grimsley. So instead of running Blaziken for the energy acceleration, we are using Toxtricity. To make sure that I can find the supporters that I need, we are running 4 copies of Pidgeot. This is a big one to hit off of Cinnabar lore because it means that the deck can basically just function by quick search once we have done all the heavy lifting with Tatsugiri. To make Grimsley even stronger and for a little bit of disruption, we're playing 2 other cheap dark types. The first one of which is Tyranitar from Journey Together. This card item locks your opponent while it's in the active, does a decent amount of damage that combos really well with Crashing Headbutt and Obsidian, and mills the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. And to offset the prize trade even more, we have Mega Gengar EX, also from Phantasmal Flames. This makes it so anytime your dark types are KO'd by a EX Pokemon, your opponent takes 1 less prize. This means that if you happen to hit this, you have a 0 prize item locker, a 0 prize energy acceleration, and a 1 prize board wiper. This deck is wildly inconsistent, but in my testing, this is the best build that I could come up with. So now come with me to a tournament where I'm going to play this and probably have to mulligan like a billion times. And if you happen to like this kind of content, let me know with a comment, a like, and a subscription. It means a lot to me, personally. Okay, let's go to the venue. Okay, we're here at the store Game Guys at the Alameda Mall in Houston. It's pretty nice. They have like so much product. This place is huge, by the way. It's like the size of a dang warehouse. They have tons of product over there. It's like a little bit marked up, so I probably won't buy anything, but that's okay. I'm super excited to run with the bit. You can't really see, I'm a little too tall for this, but I'm here with the bit tonight. It'll be really fun. I think I will be lucky to take 1 game. So the goal is 1 game, and we will see if I get that 1 game. Alright, getting into game 1. After only 3 mulligans, very low for only having 2 basics, my opponent reveals that they're playing Lucario with a Riolu start in the active. I of course start Tatsugiri, I'm able to get my energy attachment, and then we pass. My opponent, having a bunch of mulligans and also being able to play a supporter, sets up their entire board with Solrock, Lunatone, and another Riolu. After passing back to me, I thin as much as I can, hit Crispin, and then hit a Cinnabar lore. With 16 possible hits in the deck, we are lucky to hit Tyranitar, 2 Hydreigons, and a Toxtricity. Pidgeot would have been nice, but honestly, this board is pretty solid. Off of the Town Store, my opponent reveals that their A-Spec is Max Belt. Yikes. That means that Mega Brave can actually one-shot Hydreigon if I have any damage counters from Sinister Surge, which is obviously very bad. Fortunately, Lucario can be 2-hit KO'd by either Tyranitar and then Hydreigon, or Hydreigon followed up by Obsidian. Because I don't have what I need to really get an Obsidian, I send up Tyranitar to be an item locker and to mill a couple of cards from my opponent's deck. When it goes back to my opponent, they obviously are able to KO the Tyranitar with Lucario, and they are now on odd pricing, which is fantastic because of course Tatsugiri is a free 2 prizes at the start of the game. On the 4th turn, I'm able to KO Lucario with Crashing Headbutt, and I mill a few really important supporter cards. I'm really excited because next turn I actually do have game in hand with Crispin, Crystal, and Counter Catcher all being active. Unfortunately, despite milling a bunch of cards, my opponent does have an Iono, and they rip all of those things out of my hand. They're able to knock out my Hydreigon, taking me down to just 1 prize, and I boss up the Makuhita just to see if I can stall for a second. Of course, with the amount of mobility that Lucario plays between Switch, Air Balloon, and Turo, it's a moot point. They're able to switch and then KO my Hydreigon with Mega Brave. That game was so incredibly close, and if I wasn't Iono'd, I would have won the game. I know that sounds like a baby complaint, but honestly, I'm very excited to have done that well, especially because this deck is so goofy. If I had been able to hit something like Pidgeot, or even drawn another Crispin off of the Iono, that game would have been very different, but this deck is a bunch of variants, so I have to be thankful for what I can get, and just be hopeful that I'll get it next game. Next game has me up against Greninja EX. This is a pretty good matchup because Hydreigon isn't weak to fighting, and Greninja doesn't actually hit hard enough to 2-hit KO with the combination of Shinobi Blade and Mirage Barrage. This means that as long as I don't fall behind, I should be able to do huge damage, wipe the boards, and have a pretty clean-cut game. After 5 mulligans, I get the attach on turn 1, thin with Town Store, and pass to my opponent. Because of all the mulligans, my opponent has everything that they need to set up their entire board and more, and they flood the bench with all these basic Pokemon. To me, those all look like Obsidian targets, so we're eating good on the next couple of turns. I play a Pokégear, but unfortunately, I whiff anything useful. Crispin would have been fantastic, but instead I have to play Iono. I hope that I can draw into a different energy like the Water or the Fire, which I only played 2 of each, but I do whiff, pass to my opponent, and they just KO me with Shinobi Blade. A very disappointing game, but I think it is important to show, because this deck does just do that. If you whiff Cinnabar Lore, you just sort of lose. So I'm 0-2, but there's not really much lower I can go from here, so hopefully we'll get a win in the next game. My final opponent of the night is playing Grimmsnarl, but with a secret twist. After only 2 mulligans and starting both Tatsugiris in my hand, I once again go attach pass for the 3rd and final time of the night. My opponent sets up their bench with Spike Myth and Buddy Poffin and reveals that they are playing Gengar EX along with the Grimmsnarl. That is a little spooky because Gengar means that my prize trade won't be as offset as I want it to be. Ideally, I want Gengar, but if my opponent has Gengar, then we're going to be breaking even and we do the same amount of damage, and it's going to be just a little bit awkward. On turn 2, I Crispin to power up Tatsugiri and thin the deck as much as I can. I count 14 Pokemon that I want to hit off of this Cinnabar Lore. The Cinnabar Lore starts off really scary with the first 4 or 5 cards being blanks, but then we hit Toxtricity, Hydreigon, Gengar, and Pidgeot. The bases are loaded. That was an incredible Cinnabar Lore, and I feel well equipped to take the rest of the game from here. My opponent, of course, has Grimmsnarl now set up, and they are able to KO my Tatsugiri and put some damage on my Toxtricity for later. I can't really one-shot anything, and there is a Monkey Dory, but my Pokemon are bulky enough to where I don't really mind putting down damage, so I just go for a Crashing Headbutt, and I importantly mill a Boss's Orders and a Rare Candy, making it harder for them to get revenge KOs and also to power up a second Grimmsnarl. My opponent has a pretty simple turn, just moves some damage over and smacks my active with Grimmsnarl, looking to set up a 3-prize turn against Hydreigon and Toxtricity. Of course, this would end up just being a 1-prize turn because of Gengar, but I digress. On turn 4, I'm all set up for an Obsidian play. I boss up the Monkey Dory, and I KO Morgrem, Haunter, and Monkey Dory, meaning that my opponent has no more backup attackers to fall back on, and the annoying damage mover is now off the board. My opponent, scrambling for revenge options, goes for the KO on Toxtricity. This of course does only net them 0 prizes because of Mega Gengar's ability, and this is now my game to win. I KO the Grimmsnarl with Crashing Headbutt, milling 3 cards, and my opponent simply cannot recover, and I win the game next turn with Obsidian. We met our goal for the night. We won a game! Of course, it did have to be spoon-fed a good matchup, but we take what we can get when we're playing a deck like this. Shout out to all my opponents that night. Everyone was actually really excited to see the deck. They loved my hat, and everyone had a good attitude. And while I probably won't play this deck to a tournament again, it was a really fun experience, and it was honestly really cool to see how people reacted to the unique strategy. If you want to try out the deck for yourself, here's the deck list once again, but I hope I was able to show the many flavors of the deck in this video. Thanks for joining me on this magical Tatsugiri adventure. I hope to see you next time. Bye.